Alright, so today I'm going to be upgrading my Neo 320 bidet, the Luxe Neo. Is it the? Yeah, just the Neo. What happened is it broke, so I gotta fix it. But anyway, I'm gonna be replacing it with this. It's the Luxe Bidet Neo 320. So at first I had the Neo 320. This is the Luxe version. Not too much of a difference. It's exactly the same nozzle setup, but I'm gonna have to rewire some things in there for the hot water. But we're gonna get to it. I'm gonna show you guys how the final result when it gets done. Alright, so this is the old bidet. This is the nozzle. I completely cut off the water lines and disconnected it. Right here used to be where the nozzles used to hang down and do the business, but they broke off. And as you see here, they actually broke off, so there was no way for me to actually snap it. I could have tried to glue it back, but glue, we don't want no glue work around here, so then this is what we got to replace it. This is the Luxe version of it. Supposedly it folds up or whatever to make it a little bit more easy to clean up under it. So which that definitely is a plus, because sometimes some debris can get up under it, and you may not want to loosen everything up and clean up under it as often as you probably should. So this is just alternative. So just to unbox it real quick. As you see, we got the same kind of device here. So pretty much it's the same setup. This is the old one, and this is the new one. As you see, that's that piece right there, and it's got that guard to keep everything sanitary. And I'll show you guys later how it actually, how the water actually comes out. So in addition to that, they gave you, they pretty much give you all the pieces you need in here to connect everything. They give you the bivalve for the toilet, so that way you can, so this will go to the toilet right up under the tank, and then you'll have your wall insert here, and then this will go to the actual bidet for your cold water source. So this clears up a little confusion, because a lot of people think that the bidet water comes from actually in the toilet, or it doesn't even come from the tank. It comes straight from the water wall outlet, and it'll go in through there, and the rest will fill up the tank. So what we want to do before we unscrew anything, we want to make sure this is empty. So I'm just going to press that and drain all the water, and there might still be some leakage, but the main thing is you want to get most of that water out. So they also gave us some of these. These are pretty cool to use. I like to use my own wrench because, classic. They also got some of this tape, so this is good. So I already got the setup connected, so I really could just take this and slap it on there and be ready to go. But I'm going to replace all the wiring just so we got new fresh materials. Especially you can see over time, this is just something you can't prevent, but this will discolor a little bit. And then as you can see the color from here, so we definitely want that nice clean presentation. when we're installing the new bidet. So this is just the connector piece. So I'm going to leave, well, this is just the tubing, and it's got a little connector piece that you would go put that, half of it will go into the hot water outlet if you have one close by, and the other half will go straight to the bidet. And this is the tubing for the cold water. And then we got some extra screws. We got another valve piece in here. So I'm gonna start taking this old system apart, and then we'll make room for the new system. Alright, so I hooked up the cold water source. I've screwed everything pretty tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the water source back on, and then we're going to just check for any leaks. We'll let the tank fill all the way up, and then we'll give it a couple flushes and everything. But the main thing is we want to make sure there's no leaks or anything coming through. So that's what we're concerned about. Here's the toilet tank rising. And then we'll also double check this to make sure it's actually spraying. So I'm going to cut this to the nozzle clean side, and that way the water will just shoot down. If you cut it on the rear mode or the feminine mode, it's going to spray out of one of those two nozzles, and it's going to come out this way. So we'll put on nozzle clean side, and this is just to test the cold water. And as you see, it is coming down through there. So that's just, and every once in a while, after every use, I would run this just to clear everything out. Especially if you have water sitting in here for a minute. There we go. So a good example of what just happened with that is I have it all the way on cold now. So now it's only pulling from the cold side. If I put it to warm water or to the hot, then it's gonna, see, hot is, there's no hot source. But if I put it to warm, then water is gonna come back out through the hot port and just kind of fall out that way. It's a valve that opens in both to let water flow, whatever. So as long as I got it on the cold, we got no leaks, I'll let this run for a little bit, give it a flush. And the flush helps you sense different pressures, so that way you can make sure there's no leaks or anything. And any connector. If there is leaks, you can use some of this. This is just some pipe tape. You wrap it around the wherever the leak's at, and then just kind of screw it back on there, and this usually will provide a better seal. But usually fresh out the box, everything's pretty good, at least in my experience it has been. I'll save this for later. In case, like, let's say like a year down the line, you start noticing some leaks or whatever, you can always just add this to it and maybe retighten stuff, or maybe as you're bumping around or moving it, something might get loose. But if you tighten it pretty tight, you shouldn't have that problem in the first place. So now I don't see any leaks coming through, so the next step is I'm going to go ahead and hook up my hot water line. And as you can see, I already have the hot water here, but I want to replace it because this is just old, it's discolored. You know, so if I hook it right now, it'll work, and it'll work just fine. But I'm gonna go ahead and do everything the right way. As you can see, I have little nails with hinges on them to kind of secure everything to to the wood and also to the wall, but they kind of fell out. And that's another indicator when it's time to replace this. Tubing, is when those wall things start to pop off. It just gets kind of old, as you can see. But so far it still works, so that's good that it works. But this plastic, it's a hard plastic, but I feel like it may be easy to puncture or whatever, obviously. But so far I have no problems with it yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this out and then put in the new connecting pieces. And then there's another bivalve in there. I actually might leave that bivalve in there because it's a metal strong piece and it's stayed out the way. But this is what you would put on there to connect your hot water source from your sink to this line in here. So we'll go ahead and get in and do that. Alright, so this is my hot water source up in there. Excuse the under cabinet, it's junky, but whatever. So I'm gonna leave that piece in there because this one, I do remember I did have to put some tape around it because it did leak. So it took a while. It took a lot to finagle this, so I don't want to have to go through that again. So I'm gonna leave that connector piece, but I'm gonna show you guys how to do it for the first time when you're doing the tubing. So when your tubing comes like this, it's gonna be this little gray piece. What I like that they do with this gray piece on here is that they make it like a screw cap for the whatever size is on each side or whatever. So this will be the valve you're gonna use. It's gonna sit, yeah, it's pretty much gonna sit like this. Yeah, it's gonna sit like this. So your hot water, so this is gonna go right on top of your hot water nozzle. You'll just screw that on there first. You're gonna screw that on there as tight as you can get it. And then you're going to screw your top piece in. That goes from your handle or whatever. So you're gonna screw that in, and that's gonna go right on top. So now you have your hot water that comes from the valve straight up to your sink, so you get your hot water. And then it's by this little separation over here is where you would get that. So this piece here, you're gonna slide this gray piece all the way over, and then pretty much this little piece here, you're gonna just push that on there as tight as you can. First thing you're gonna do is you're gonna screw all this all the way down, and then you're just gonna push that all the way on there. And then you're gonna, once that's all the way on there, don't force it because you don't want to break or rip anything. Once that's further on there, you're gonna slide this down, and you're just gonna screw it on there. And as it comes up, it's gonna put pressure on it, and hopefully it doesn't do that. Hopefully it doesn't pop off like that. So we'll just try to, actually, you know what? Okay, so actually, yeah. Well, actually, no, that's better. So you can actually take that off and put it on here first, and then screw it in, or push it in the best way you can, like that. And then you'll take this, and then you'll screw it down. As you screw it down, you'll feel it getting tight, and that should be all you need. You don't want to overdo it because it is plastic. Plastic can be a little janky, and obviously this piece will still be on, so you want to leave this piece on there. So I'm gonna actually make sure I do that with this. But yeah, so pretty much the only thing I'm doing differently is I'm not adding this new piece to here because it can't be a lot of work. So all I'm gonna do is just unscrew yeah, and I pretty much did it by hand, so you don't have to use any hard tools or anything. Most of this stuff they did, you can do it by hand, but well, they give you those plastic wrenches, which are good, but you don't want to over tight stuff because you can break something. So I'll unscrew that. That's up good. That is on the move. Okay. Oh, so yeah, that was on there tight. I actually got it unscrewed. I actually have to yank it out. So we'll see. Hopefully it goes back in there pretty good. If not, then I'll have to take it apart and tape it up again. But let's save ourselves some headache. I am going to use this new bolt though. So Alright, so I got the hot water source connected, and this is just the rest of the cable. We'll let it do its own thing later. Later I'll attach it to the wall and stuff like that to make it a little more cleaner. But just for a simple test, we're just going to screw this on. Again, not too tight, but just enough if you need to, which is also a good idea to actually do, is to just bring this piece that they gave you all the way over, this little gray piece, bring it all the way over and use that to tighten it. And then you can always slide it down to hide it wherever you want to, but it's good to have it on there in case you got to make any adjustments. But I just do a simple hand tighten. Now I'm going to cut back on my hot water source and make sure there's no leaks. Alright, so I cut it on, it was leaking, so I'm going to tighten it a little bit more. Now so that's on there tight. It should not leak anymore. Let's see. Okay. Alright, so now we got some issues. Alright, so after a couple bloopers, I figured out what the issue was. I had it, based on the angle, I just tightened it on there, but it was kind of off a little bit. So any gaps, it will leak and spray, but it's on there tight now. It actually screws pretty easily, so if you have to add a little bit more force, then that's a sign that it's not working. So pretty much I got everything on, and everything's just kind of it's shut off. So what we're doing now is I'm just making sure there's no leaks or anything, just to see how it sits or whatever. And then the toilet lid is still loose because we're going to tighten it up at the very end once we make sure everything works. So pretty much that's that, and I got it on the cleaning section, so when I cut it on, we see water coming from both ends. And actually, if I open this up, you can kind of see there's two nozzles, but this kind of protects the nozzles itself from getting dirty. So you cut it on, pretty much water just shoot. The nozzle will go down and it'll shoot water upwards. So that's just the self-cleaning mode now. If I I'll put my hand here. If I cut it on the normal rear setting and cut it on just slightly, you see that nozzle. The nozzle definitely drops down and it shoots. So that's just regular warm water. And then to actually adjust the cold is more powerful, and then hot water is that, and it actually does feel warm. It slowly gets hot, but yeah, you'll feel it. And then if I cut on the feminine side, it switches the nozzle to a different nozzle, and the nozzle is actually a little bit softer from touch. So yeah, it does that. But so far everything looks like it's running pretty good. And if you want to put it on cold, you can. And then. So yeah, usually I'll leave it at rear. On most days I just leave it at cleansing in case somebody accidentally does hit it, water doesn't spray off. If you got people over, make sure you tell them don't touch the bidet at all, or just leave it in the nozzle clean, because somebody will flip this and water will start shooting, they'll panic. But if you leave it down here, then water will just go down and you won't create a mess. So that's pretty much it. That's the final results. I'm gonna just adjust this seat a little bit more evenly and tighten everything up. And then it's pretty good for use. There are some, now you can get some spacers to kind of place in between the toilet seat, but this space here is not that big enough to where it kind of throws everything off, so it should still be fine. They have some thicker ones, and you probably will need those spaces, but for now, I think it's good to go. And yeah, we can enjoy a nice cleansing poop.